We're going over overseas assignments. With me today, I have Sergeant Block, as always, brought in from Europe, Sergeant Major Rhodes, from Korea, Master Sergeant Pap, and from Hawaii, the place everybody wants to go, Sergeant Corey. So, Sergeant Major Rhodes, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to our viewers so that they know who you are and where you come from.
Hey, how's everyone doing out there in reenlistment.com land? Sergeant Major Rhodes. I'm Senior Command Career Counselor for United States Army, Europe, and Africa. The best overseas assignment out there. We are actively looking for career counselors out here who want to come out here and be part of the winning team, the #1 ASCC in the Army. We are taking applications. See, contact Master Sergeant Kevin Thomas, and we'll get you on the winning team.
Great to have you here, Sergeant Major. So you're vetting already. We're only at the start of the show, Sergeant Major. We gotta wait until the end of the show for that to happen. So, but welcome. We're glad to have you here.
Everyone needs to know, who the winning team is. So, just start it out real quick, and it's not really a competition because we already know who the winner is.
I believe my mic muted that entire time.
The entire time.
So, Master Corey, if you could go ahead and unmute and tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're currently at, and what you'd like to do.
Hello, everybody from the great land of Hawaii. Aloha! I'm the Senior Career Counselor for 3BZT with the 25th ID. It is a beautiful place out here. Not the last 4 weeks. We've been doing nothing but dealing with the rain. Hope it lights up soon. But if you're ever looking to come out here, you're going to enjoy it.
And then lastly, and the greatest, because I was there before and I had to leave. So Master Sergeant Pat, if you could come on, and I think people know where you're at because of your name tag at the bottom. But tell us a little about yourself and where you're at.
Hi, everybody there out in the virtual internet lands. My name is Master Sergeant Pap, and I'm the Command Career Counselor for the 2nd Infantry Division here in Pyeongtaek, South Korea, located on Camp Humphreys in the land of the Morning Calm. The assignment of choice, 2nd Infantry Division, is second to none, which means that when you're thinking about overseas assignments of choice, you want to think about fight tonight land. So one of our mottos here in the land of the Morning Calm is Kapshi Kapshi Da, we go together. So consider South Korea as your next assignment of choice 1 year, and then you can turn and burn and go to all these other beautiful locations in the form of a continuous overseas tour. So you can knock them all out. There's no need to choose just one.
That is true. Like, you go to Korea, you said a turn and burn. So you can go to Korea and then, pick another great assignment right after that. And bam, you get 2 assignments for the price of 1, right? So, Sergeant Major Rhodes, you said you were taking applications. So why is Europe the best assignment? What does Europe have to offer to the soldier thinking about, hey, I want to go, where do I want to re-enlist? Or if Branch puts me on assignment, why do they want to come to Europe?
I mean, it's just really quite simple. We definitely have just the most to offer. Even with COVID going on, there's still travel opportunities within Germany. And when these COVID restrictions ease up, you can go anywhere. I mean, it's nothing to go to, Paris for the weekend, go to Greece for a 4-day weekend. There's always at least a three-day weekend every month. So who doesn't want to go to Italy for the weekend or go to Spain and hang out on the beaches in November and it's still 75, 80 degrees? So Europe is the destination of choice of all soldiers and counselors. Because when you get out here, you work hard, but you also play hard. You have the opportunity to go different places, take your family out there, and just enjoy life.
Yeah, because like you mentioned, you have to work hard and play hard. Because I know with Europe, there's it's a little bit harder to make mission out there than it would be, let's say, I don't know, Korea, where you know their mission may be a little simpler to make, right, than somebody in Europe. So if you want to challenge as a career counselor or challenge as a soldier, you probably want to hit up Europe, right?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone thinks because of the DEROS rule that Europe has it so much easier to make mission. It's same mission everywhere, just like in the United States, and in Korea and in Hawaii. Even though you have the DEROS rule, you still have to put the time in, put that work in, put the effort to take care of that soldier, getting the right person, the right place at the right time. So it's still a challenge here. So we definitely play hard, but we definitely work hard. We're actually killing mission right now. FY21s are done for the already. We're at 75% for FY22s. We're actually 77%. I'm TDY right now, so I'm all over the place. I'm actually in Grafenwehr, Germany. That's why I'm in this hotel room talking to you guys. But it's definitely still a challenge when you come out here to Germany as a counselor.
All right. So we're talking about mission in Hawaii, and then I'm joking a little bit about 2ID, but I love 2ID. So Sergeant Corey, what about Hawaii? I mean, besides the obvious stuff about Hawaii, the beaches and the sunsets and the beaches and the water, and what does Hawaii have to offer, and why should people look at that assignment as their next location?
So to go ahead and make the coattails of Sergeant Major Rose talking about being able to travel, what a lot of people don't use out here a lot is the space A. We have one counselor within 25th ID where they travel to New Zealand. We have people who are traveling to Alaska, as well as the really low plane cost for tickets to travel to the other islands here. So even though you come to the middle of the Pacific, if there's other regions that you want to visit, Okinawa, Japan, even flights to South Korea for shopping, those are all possibilities coming out of here. The best part about it is also the uniqueness of the unit here. Along with Europe, they have their cooperations that they go and support with other NATO partners. We do the same thing here in USERPAC, supporting Thailand, working with other Indonesian countries that a lot of people really don't actually get to experience anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. And then saving the second to none, Sergeant Pat. Tell us the great stuff about Korea, because I mean, soldiers are gonna have this preconceived mindset about Korea, but tell us all the great things about Korea, because I know you're loving it. I think you said earlier before you even went live that you're gonna try to stay there as long as you possibly can. So if you can tell us, why you love Korea so much.
So I was very excited to come back to Korea. I was here 10 years ago, and at that time, 10 years ago, I did AIP. I took advantage of the assignment incentive pay, got a little extra $3,000, and stayed in Korea for an extra year. And so when the opportunity came up to come back 10 years later, I was the most excited because, number one, Korea is a one-year tour. And over the past decade, Korea has evolved into this beautiful, high-tech, culturally immersive location of choice. We have the food. The food is fantastic. All kinds of Asian-inspired foods. We have a lot of Western foods over here, so you're not going to be missing your McDonald's. You're not going to be missing your Taco Bell. We still have those food opportunities here, but the street foods and the markets and the restaurants, it's phenomenal. And then the cultural immersion opportunities. So just like Sergeant Major had said about time off, in Korea, because we do have to follow our host country holidays, we get a lot of time off. So we have Korean holidays off with your American holidays off. And then you have a lot of days of no scheduled activities, danzas. So we have a lot of training holidays. So there's plenty of opportunity to travel within the country. Now, Granted, right
Yeah,
now,
but you guys,
because of
don't you
COVID,
have that curfew thing?
no, there's no curfew. No curfew.
Oh,
It happened, I want to say a couple of years ago. One of the commanding generals says, you know what? We're grown. We're adults. I expect you to act like adults, go and enjoy the country, enjoy the culture, behave yourself. We'll see how this no curfew goes. And it's been gone ever since. So no curfew, come and enjoy the country within COVID mitigating measures. So COVID, we take COVID so seriously here, trying to the contact tracing, we take it seriously. When you do come to the country, you will quarantine for 14 days just to ensure the safety of yourself, your families, and the community. We do take that very seriously. And there are some off limits areas right now. Seoul is off limits due to COVID. So be safe, and we take your safety so seriously. But 1 year, and then you can go and you can check out Europe, and you can check out Hawaii doing a continuous overseas tour where you get your free round trip tickets as part of the travel incentives for the continuous overseas tour. So you can check us all out.
so with that, you kind of kind of facilitated into the next question, Sergeant Pap. And so I'm going to stick with you. So when you arrive, let's say at your location, what is that process
Mhm.
for that soldier due to COVID and restrictions and stuff?
Okay.
What is the process and how do they do whenever they get to Korea?
So 3 days before you fly from your originating location, you must take a COVID test. That COVID test must be negative, obviously. Now, there's a very specific COVID test. I believe it's the PCRA. I'm not 100% sure. It's a very specific COVID test that you must take, and that COVID test is going to be annotated on your order. So you must have that within 3 days of travel. And ensure that your COVID test has your DoD ID number, your name, and the other required information on that test. So you fly into country. When you get to the airport at Incheon Airport, at least for South Korea, you're going to be quarantined in a space in the airport. We'll get you on a controlled environment bus, bring you to Camp Humphreys or whatever quarantine facility that you're going to be staying in. And you'll be in that quarantine facility for 14 days. During your 14 days in that quarantine facility, you're going to take 2 COVID tests. Both must be negative. At the end of that 14 days, and as long as you've had 2 negative COVID tests, then you'll be released into the country. Your unit will pick you up, and you could start training to fight tonight, taking advantage of those weekends and the beautiful, amazing culture that South Korea has to offer. So those are the travel requirements as of right now.
All right, I appreciate that, Sergeant Pap. Sergeant Major Rose, what's the process whenever somebody arrives to Europe? And they get that, assignment that they're re-enlisted for, they get those orders. What's the process that they do for
Right.
Europe?
It's pretty similar to when you're going to Korea. You still need that negative COVID test within 48 hours of traveling. You arrive on the Patriot Express down in Ramstein. If you are married and you have dependent, or if you have dependents, not just married, if you have dependents, what is happening now is your sponsor is automatically getting you housing already locked in if you're coming to Europe or to Germany. When you go to Italy, it's a little different. When you come to Germany, your sponsor, they have 3 or 4 houses. You're doing stuff online, you're checking everything out, you're doing a virtual tour. Once they bus you from Ramstein to your location, you will quarantine in your house. So the sponsorship program has been completely transformed in Germany. Your sponsorship is very, very involved. Not like before, hey, I'm your sponsor. Yeah, just come when you get here, we'll work it out. No longer. The sponsor is that virtual link between that soldier and the gaining installation. They're getting them housing, they're getting them food, they're getting them stuff from the lending closet. All that stuff's already set up by the time they get there, so they can quarantine a little bit more comfortably with their family within housing. Of course, if you're a soldier, it's a little different. Yeah, you got to go to the barracks. They have quarantine barracks that you could stay there until your quarantine time is up, and then you start your in processing. When you go to Italy, it's a little bit of a different process. They don't put you into housing because most of their stuff is on the economy. So you quarantine in lodging, and then that same process happens afterwards. But the sponsorship plays a huge role nowadays. It's no longer just a check block. So when you're coming to Europe, that sponsor will reach out to you. He will be that that lifeline that you will have prior to you arriving to Europe.
All right, and Sergeant Corey. I know whenever people get on assignment to Hawaii, they're very sad about it. So if you could walk those soldiers who aren't maybe happy about getting their assignment to a island with beaches and sunsets and tiki dolls and all those amazing things, what is your COVID-19 process like when they arrive?
So the first thing I'd like to say is make sure to go to the hawaii.army.mil website. They have a link for in-processing soldiers right there at the top so that they get the latest and greatest information. One of the newest changes is to come to Hawaii is that if you've received a vaccine or you have the negative COVID test within 3 days when arriving, then some quarantine requirements are not necessarily going to be applicable to you. They also make sure to have an opportunity for you to take a COVID test when you arrive. Now, when you arrive, or prior to arrival, there's some things you also need to know about when it comes to pets. Hawaii has a very strict pet policy that if you do not get their vaccinations or anything like that, they will be required to quarantine here. And this was pre-COVID conditions. So this is going to happen regardless. Make sure you check in with them. We were able to get our pets picked up the same day because we followed the process and sent all the necessary paperwork prior to arrival. Make sure you get your hotel before you show up. There are specific hotels here that are very favorable to the process, and then you can stay in the hotel up until you receive your housing that you signed up for. Once arriving, you'll go through a truncated in process. You'll arrive at our replacement facility, and then you'll take directions from the tower, essentially. This is a been an ongoing fluid situation with the recent release of new information coming out. That's why I encourage you to go to the website and make sure you get the latest and greatest because it is fluid.
All right, thank you. So we got Europe, Hawaii, Korea. Are all your locations? Do they have a multitude of MOSs the units that they have there that or is it like some soldiers may not be able to go to your location or may not have the amount of assignments that they may if they went to another location? Sergeant Pat, can you answer that one? Like, is there if I'm 11 Bravo, are there a whole lot of places for me in Korea?
Yeah, so South Korea is an equal opportunity MOS employer. All MOSs will be accepted in South Korea. We have a lot of specialty units here. We have up at Camp Casey, who are the defenders of the north, of the wall in the north. We have some field artillery units up there. We have medical brigades here. We have the MI brigades here. We have a lot of support MOSs, a lot of support units, 19th ESC and 2nd Infantry Division. We both have a lot of the support MOSs. And then moving down south, a lot of signal locations and opportunities here in South Korea. So all MOSs, we will accept you with open arms.
And they just did a lot of work on, I think you said you're at Camp Humphreys. They just did a lot of work at Camp Humphreys, didn't they?
Oh, Camp Humphreys has exploded. Like I said, I was here 10 years ago. Camp Humphreys was being built up. It wasn't really a lot to offer. Now, oh my goodness, it's like its own city. The amenities for soldiers, and the families. The family housing on Camp Humphreys is phenomenal. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. The things to do and the support for your families, employment for your spouses. Now, if you are coming to Korea accompanied and you do want to bring your family, that changes your tour to 2 years. And there are no accompanied locations in Area 1, which is the Camp Casey area. So Camp Casey in our Area 1, we have some also locations in Yongsan and in Seoul. They're minimal for slotting, minimal for positions. Most of the soldiers and their families who come to South Korea will be staying in Camp Humphreys, which we consider that as Area 3 and below. So down at Daegu, Camp Walker, Camp Carroll, Camp Henry, and below. So that's where, if you come accompanying, that's where you'll be staying. And it is like they've built it up. It's insane.
And then Sergeant Major Rose,
Pat, Sorry, AJ.
And then Sergeant Major Rose, I was stationed at Grafenwehr, which you said you're currently at right now. Same question. Are all MOSs basically is there a unit for everyone there? And also, addition to that, or what's the weather like? You know, during the winter, summer, springtime.
Yeah, a lot of everybody can come to Europe, especially out here in Vilseck and Graf area. Like I said, I always call Graf and Vilseck the Army side and the Air Force side. I always say that's where soldiers come to train. They have a special, especially Vilseck, has a little special place in my heart. I was here before, about 6 years ago, and it's still fun. You're close to Prague. Everyone wants to be here. Infantrymen all the way down. We have everything here. So the weather this year has been a little crazy, as most places in the world this year. But like today was 50 degrees, but then it started a little snow up here in Graf. But now it's probably like 45 degrees. This year's been a little crazy, but for the most part, the weather is nice. I would say the only downfall that most people say about when you come to Germany is that they don't have a lot of AC in a lot of the buildings. But it really doesn't get too hot that you really need AC for a long period of time. If we have some hot days, they are hot, but for the most part, the weather is perfect. Like it's not too hot, it's definitely not too cold. When you come to Grafenville, you will get some snow. If you're in the Wiesbaden area, you'll get a snow, but maybe a little light dusting. It just depends on where you're at. Italy, of course, is beautiful. Like I said, pretty much all year round. It'll be a little chilly, a little light jacket, but nothing too crazy. So the weather is great.
I don't know, Sergeant Major Rose, when you said no AC, I know that's a deal breaker for some people.
No, trust me, it doesn't get that hot. There have been some hot days, and the hot days are never sustained more than 3 or 4 days at a time. We're talking about 75,
what is
80
hot
degrees. And
okay.
Yeah, 75, 80 degrees. It's not too bad. There have been some 90 days, but that's few and far between.
Ooh.
They definitely.
We got AC in South Korea. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
And then, Sergeant Corey, I know you hear them talking about hot weather. What about Hawaii? What about the units there? And we're gonna go with the weather. So, what's the weather like there? You're hearing them say hot and cold, and let's hear your take from Hawaii.
It's 80 all the time.
Well, island cold here is your mid to high 60s. And that's the current weather we're going on. Our winter is just rainy season. There are many houses on the island that don't have AC either, but then again, it's not required because very few people actually stay in their house. If you're in Hawaii, why are you going to be in your house? You've got the beaches. If you want snow, go visit the Big Island. They got a big mountain over there that has snow tops on it. As far as locations and MOSs, all are welcome. A lot of people don't understand there's more to Hawaii than just Schofield Barracks. We have Fort Shafter, Camp Smith, Tripler Army Medical Center. We have a spot for every MOS that is out that is the Army possesses. And what I would also tell you is pay attention to timing. We have a DEROS. We have a rotation. The commander has actually instituted a 6-year policy. So you're not supposed to stay on this island longer than 6 years. So pay attention to some of those assignments available and he's on when it comes out.
And is what is it? Island fever? Is that a thing? Like, have you been there for what, 2 years now? Almost 3 years? Have you gotten tired of it yet?
Almost. No, I haven't, because there's something new, a new beach, a new hike. One of the things that COVID really stopped us from doing was being able to travel to the other islands. So there's that. I mentioned Space A available. We've talked about wanting to visit Australia and Alaska while we're here. So as far as island fever, if you're a homebody staying indoors, you're getting island fever. You're not out there and experience everything the island has to offer you. That's all I would have to say about that.
What about you, Master Pap? Have you done any traveling while you've been there in Korea? Because I know Korea, there's a lot of things you can do there. And
yeah,
it's interesting.
So last time that I was here in Korea, I went to Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and China. These little, it's almost like the island hops for Hawaii, but all these surrounding countries, especially the Indochina Peninsula. A lot of people go to Thailand from South Korea. in the Philippines. This time, though, because we're in a COVID environment, off peninsula travel has been restricted because of the COVID environment, and then the entry requirements for these other countries in a COVID environment. So off country travel this time has been restricted, but in country travel, even with the health protection control measures in the Charlie level, so even within HipCon Charlie, where there are more restrictions because of COVID, you can still hike, you can still go off post to conduct physical fitness. And I have gone on some beautiful hikes in this country, hills and valleys and lakes, just taking advantage of the nature, the nature. If you're a nature person, if you like to go hike or walk or bike ride, there's tons of bike rides, tons of people biking there. The country is just so beautiful. And then whenever we are not in a HipCon Charlie, we bounce back and forth between HipCon Charlie and HipCon Bravo. Whenever we're in HipCon Bravo and we can move around a bit more freely, the markets, the festival, the cherry blossom festivals are about to kick off. Very excited for that. At the end of this month, I'm going to Jeju Island for a couple of days. I'm so excited for that. It's almost like our own little version of Hawaii. Our little beaches and like the tropical environment down in Jeju Island. It's an island off the southern coast of the peninsula. So very excited about that. It's so beautiful. And technology here, you have cell phone signal everywhere, five bars everywhere you go. So you'll never be without your technology, which is another thing that keeps people indoors, regardless of location, is technology. So AC, very important, and we got it.
We do have a question for you, Massart. Somebody had asked when we were talking about units in Korea. Michael asked for Korea, what about CID and CI opportunities there? Are you guys got those there too?
Absolutely. And I know when we're looking at strengths of MOSs, strengths of opportunities, Korea, there's a lot of bad rap about Korea out there. In my experience, it's a lot of antedated information. People just keep spreading that same rumor from so long ago. Korea is beautiful. It's great. We have lots of opportunities. But because of the bad rap that Korea gets from old antedated information, it's hard to fill these slots. It's hard to keep these units at the strength that we need them to be at. So we're actively encouraging assignments to Korea. And I know someone said AIP. So AIP is the assignment incentive pay. They have a list of MOSs, a small list of MOSs that if you are in this MOS, you will get $6,000 to extend your tour another year. So you can come over to Korea for 1 year. Be like, you know what? This is beautiful. I'm well fed. It's gorgeous. I'm enjoying myself. Let me get that 6K, stay another year. If your MOS is not on this list, but you still want to extend for another year, all the rest of the MOSs, you get $3,000 to extend your tour. So that's what's called the assignment incentive pay, AIP, to encourage a Korea tour extension.
And then Sergeant Major Rose, there was a question earlier also. Do you have to be airborne to go to Italy?
All right, so it's a yes and no. It's actually no, because we have more than just the 173rd in Italy. We have MI commands out there. Now we have CTAF, formerly known as USARAF, is out there, because we are now merging. We're now a 4-star command, which most people don't know, but we're a 4-star command now. So we have now merged with Europe and Africa. CTAF is now established. 5th Corps will be coming under USAR. So to answer that question, no, you do not have to be airborne to go to Italy. We have many other opportunities besides the 173rd, which is our airborne unit in Italy.
Okay, so you said Europe's a 4-star command now. Sergeant Pap and Sergeant Corey, are you all 4-star commands or?
Yeah, so the United States Forces Korea and 8th Army, and then we also have joint commands. We have NATO here, so stars all over the place. So many stars.
And then I think
He's
you
back,
you
man.
actually answered the question earlier. Son.
And I
Oh,
also like to
what did
just
you say, Sir Corey?
no, I was actually before too much time has passed. Encourage all CID to feel free to go ahead and go to Korea.
Yeah, we had some people trying to have too much fun. SOFA agreements are a thing. And whenever we have soldiers over here, you know, trying to have going outside those left and right limits of authorized fun, we put our CID to work.
So if you're CID, Korea is definitely the place to go if you want to do your job, is what you're saying. Yeah. And I think you answered this earlier, but if somebody wants to answer, is a HAP a thing? Because I know soldiers here. Whenever I was in Korea, I heard all the time, "Hey, my HAP says I'm going to Fort Polk." They were really excited about going to Fort Polk. Is that HAP an actual thing, or what happens?
So as far as South Korea goes, if you're coming here for a 1-year unaccompanied tour, your HAP, I would say it's almost 80% guaranteed. We are getting way better at locking in and guaranteeing that home-based advanced assignment program, or HAP. All right. Now, what happens is a lot of people come to Korea, they want to lock in that HAP, they want to guarantee that HAP, but they get to Korea loving it, and they want to do all kinds of Korea extensions, whether it be the IPCOT, the COT, or the AIP. And when you do a Korea extension, now you're negating your HAP. We cannot guarantee an assignment 2 years out from your return time. So just keep that in mind. If you come to Korea and you fall in love with the land of the morning calm, you are going to be giving up that HAP so that you can stay in Korea. But the ASK-EM cycle is a thing. So you can absolutely try to lock in your next assignment once you leave Korea, or re-enlist for an assignment of choice so that you can leave Korea and go to Hawaii, Europe, Fort Polk, Louisiana, wherever it is that you want to go. Now, if you're just a 1-year tour, yeah, HAPs are being more and more guaranteed every day.
And then IPCOTs, COTs, and stuff, paperwork like that. How Sergeant Major Rose and Sergeant Corey and Sergeant Pat, how often at your locations do those get approved? The IPCOTs and COTs and all those. Have you seen from your foxhole?
I'll tell you, in Europe, they're getting approved left and right, almost to the point that, like, this is really not fair that you're enjoying so much of Europe and not giving other people an opportunity to come out here. I literally have counselors saying, yeah, I'll do 9, 12, 15 years consecutive here if you let me. So it's just that great in Europe. Like I said, even with COVID conditions, it's still so much to do. If you're a history buff, you know you're going to get all kinds of history over here in Europe. So HAPs, or not HAPs, COTs, and they're definitely a thing. ITT COTs, IPCOTs, it does not matter. They are, the list is long, trust me. So if you want to come, you better get your name on the list and we'll get you here.
What about Sergeant Corey? What about a great land of Hawaii?
I apologize for the delay. So as far as IPCOTs come here, I would only tell you, make sure you're doing it as soon as your the regulation allows. As long as you're more than 12 months from DEROS, the approval authorities at the USAPAC level, once within 12 months from your DEROS date, it has to go all the way to your branch manager and HRC. The chances of success prior to it all depends on strengths. I mean, I mentioned before how we have a 6-year limitation on soldiers being able to stay here on the island. And the reason for that is obviously people have been staying here longer than that. And we want to make sure to give the rest of the Army an opportunity to see it. So certainly a thing, but got to get to it early enough.
And Sergeant Pat, I know everybody wants to continue their overseas tour at Korea. So how often do those get approved? Have you seen? And being able to transition, because you went over a little bit earlier, but being able to transition, let's say Europe or Hawaii.
So the COT, Continuous Overseas Tour, is where you want to go from one overseas location to another. The IPCOT, the in-place continuous overseas tour, is if you want to do a consecutive tour in your current location. Now, within the country of Korea, because we have multiple bases within the country of Korea, you could do a COT or an IPCOT within South Korea, or you can do a COT, continuous overseas tour, from Korea to Europe, Hawaii, Alaska, or any of the other overseas locations. COTs and IPCOTs being approved, I would, based on what I'm seeing in my experience, it's about a 90th percentile approval rate. So aligning the soldiers' wants, needs, and desires with the available positions in the Army. If the Army has the positions available and you want to do it, why not marry that up, make it easier for everybody involved? So there's no concern with approval rating when it comes to AIPs, COTs, IPCOTs, or even FSTEs, Foreign Service Tour Extensions. FSTEs are just months at a time. You could do like, to line up for my kid's school, or to line up with whatever personal things I have going on in my life, or NCOES, or whatever professional pursuits. You can do just a few months of a tour extension to line that up for yourself. So very flexible with your tour to like I said, to align your Army career with your wants, needs, and desires. So no worries there. And to correct myself on the assignment incentive pay, thanks to Matt Savage, the Senior Retention Operations NCO for the 19th ESC, winning the right way down there in Daegu, South Korea. He corrected me on the AIP amounts. So if you are, MOS is on the short list, it's $6,000 for an AIP. If your MOS is not on that short list, all the other MOSs, and you get approved for AIP, it's $3,600. So that's a more benefit to you. Thank you, Matt Savage, for your correction.
And sorry,
I
Corey,
had a quick question. Oh, go ahead, AJ. I'll ask in a minute.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to ask. So overseas tours, so soldiers, we have a lot of soldiers who are enrolled in EFMP for one thing or another, spouse, children, whatever the case may be. So how is the overseas, like for overseas, I know me being in overseas, I'm having trouble just getting approved for stateside PCS, let alone an overseas tour. So are they really strict with overseas for EFMP? Anybody want
me
to
start with you? I'll jump in. All right, so EFMP it's not that it's that hard. It's just the doctors, having the amount of doctors to facilitate with whatever the need is for that EFMP. And it just ebbs and flows. Sometimes whatever that need is, if it's something really specific, it's going to be harder to go to any overseas location. But for the most part, we have everything here. Landstuhl is a very, very big medical center, and they can do pretty much everything here. It's just the fact that we have the need is so great that sometimes that EFMP it's a little hard. But for the most part, we house most of our EFMPs here.
That's not Corey. Is it the same for you guys?
As for Hawaii, yes. The only thing I would say is make sure your EFMP is up to date, because a lot of times what happens is, hey, congratulations, you come to Hawaii, and then you go and update your EFMP and something new comes across and it causes a deletion of orders. Or when you're here in Hawaii and you're ready to go on to your next duty station, as you're going through that process, I've noticed a lot of the hotlines we process here, some of the EFMP, while meeting the needs for the PCS process, isn't necessarily the most recent. So I would encourage anybody listening that as soon as you start getting close, go ahead and update your EFMP so that the Army is fully aware of everything you need, and you don't have to worry about going through the limbo of, am I going to go here, am I not going to go here, can I support, and so forth.
So as far as South Korea goes for EFMP, we are, I would have to say we are more limited than Europe and Hawaii when it comes to primary care providers, the patient load of the primary care providers. So that's why a lot of people who are EFMP, they'll come to Korea for that 1 year unaccompanied and then return to their home station. We do have some care but I am not the EF&P subject matter expert. I'm not sure as to what all services can be provided for your family members. So that's something that you are going to have to research to see, or you could just come here when you're unaccompanied. As far as MACP goes, we have quite a few MACP soldiers, the Married Army Couples Program, where, like I said, Korea is equal opportunity, right? We want everybody to come to Korea. So we will accommodate your MACP 2 soldiers for the price of 1. Yes, please, bring them back, bring them back. So just do your own research on the EF&P. Make sure that your family members will have the support that they need in this country, and get with your career counselors at your units and locations to start that process if you wanted to reenlist for an assignment of choice.
And Sergeant Corey, we're going to start off with you. Take like 15 seconds and sell Hawaii. And then at the end of that, if you want to go ahead and give your shout out, that person, the soldier, career counselor, whoever that is, really killed it over the, however long you want to recognize them for. Go ahead.
All right, so selling Hawaii. It's Hawaii. It's a tropical paradise. Why do you need to be sold on the fact that you have air conditioning and good Wi-Fi when you can come to a place where it doesn't matter? All right. And not only that, she's trying to actively recruit CID to come there. Who does that? No. So as far as the person I'd like to highlight, is somebody who was actually already presented on Facebook was Staff Sergeant Duckworth, one of only 3 career counselors in the Army to have graduated jungle school. So shout out to her. Congratulations. Well done. Way to set the standard.
And Sergeant Major Rose, if you could try with the best of your ability to sell Europe to soldiers, and also your shout out.
All right, so there's no real need to sell Europe because it sells itself. We are just the #1 choice for everywhere to go, not just for your time being, say, I want to go to the beach, because going to the beach is fun for a little bit, but you can do so many other things besides go to the beach. No disrespect to Hawaii, but Europe is where it's at. You have the best of all worlds, not both worlds, but all worlds. So no need to sell why you want to come to Europe, because Europe is where it's at. As far as shout out, I would like to just shout out the entire United States Army Europe and Africa retention team. There is no one person that makes this right. We do it as a team, and that's how we see things. Which is why success it's just eminent where we are, because we work as a team. So shout out to the USER AF retention team.
Nice. And then Sergeant Paps, second to none, fight tonight, who sell Korea, which isn't that hard because I've re-enlisted lots of soldiers for that location. But sell Korea, and then your shout out.
So I think the biggest selling point for Korea is the South Korean, the culture, the food, the views, and the cultural immersion opportunities here. And it's just 1 year. 1 year for a fantastic adventure, for a fantastic experience. And then you can go Hawaii and Europe, because they're really all great places. They're all so unique that it's hard to compare them against each other. As far as shout outs go, your career counselors at your organizations across the Army are making your career happen for you. There are way too many opportunities in this Army for you to be unhappy doing what you're doing, wherever you're doing it at. So if there's something else that you want to try, if there's something that you want to do different, if there's something in your career that's just not working out for you, go see your career counselor. We truly have your wants, needs, and desires as uppermost priority in our hearts. We want to make sure that you're happy, because happy soldiers make a happy Army. So please go see your career counselors. And my shout out and my love goes to all the career counselors in the Army, but especially that second and none fight tonight career council team: Master Roberts, Master Livingston, Sergeant Jones up at Camp Casey, Sergeant Vasquez, HHBN, and my junior ops, Sergeant First Class Muniz. They are the best, truly. Kapshi kapshi da, we go together.
So I like that. Sergeant Major Rose shouted out the entire team, and you shouted out the entire Army. So that was awesome. Sergeant Block, if you could go ahead, hey, who's your shout out this week?
So real quick, Steven asked if anyone was going to try to sell Alaska. Haha. Well, guess what, Steven? I will shout out Alaska and I will sell it to you for days. Okay, Alaska is my best kept secret in the Army. I did 4 years there and it was amazing. I was at Fort Richardson, which is now J-Bear, Alaska. It's right in the middle of country and city. You got Anchorage right there. It's like in a bowl. Skiing, hiking, fishing. You got it. In the summer, you can stay up all day and all night fishing if you wanted to, and the sun's not going to go down. It's amazing. So that's my shout out to Alaska, best kept secret. Don't knock it till you try it. As for
that's why
shouting out, go ahead.
I didn't bring somebody on for Alaska was because I knew that you would be able to sell it, or our prayers go out to Shantae Waterbury, who had a Pelican bike accident and wasn't able to do the show today. So I know either one of you could have really have sold Alaska. So
I'm not gonna lie, I want to go to Germany so bad. I want to check out Korea. I've already been to Hawaii. That's where I went after Alaska. But Alaska, if I could go back there tomorrow, my bags would be packed before we got over the conversation. But no, shout out to a few of my senior career counselors now that I went to school with that are just doing their thing and kicking butt is Sergeant First Class Brandy Finch, Master Sergeant Hamida Jackson, and Master Sergeant Tamika. Oh my God.
That's not awkward at all.
I know it's not. Girl, you know,
she knows who
she knows who she's talking
Girl,
about.
you know who
Tamika
you are.
Lewis. Master Sergeant Tamika Lewis. Jeez. It's been a long day here. It's raining at Fort Bragg. It's miserable. It's cold. It went from 80 this weekend to like 40 overnight. So we're all feeling it. But those are my shout outs tonight. And I just wanted to say a big shout out to you three for coming on and taking this time with us. So thank you.
And then last,
Come to Korea.
My shout out is to the viewers. It doesn't always have to be about career counselors. I appreciate each one of you tuning in so that you can find out about your career and you share this information so that you can help other soldiers. So I appreciate everyone watching or sharing our videos. Also, I would like to thank Sergeant Stephen Bortani for keeping us on our toes about Alaska. He's a great career counselor, and Europe is getting ready to gain success. So with that, I don't see any other questions. See your career counselor. Like Sergeant Pap said, see your career counselor. Or, if you come down on assignment because your branch manager put you on assignment to one of these locations, see your career counselor so that you can find out the most up-to-date information, or they can put you in contact with somebody over there so that you can start the process of doing what you need to do. So with that, does anybody else have anything they want to say? All right. Appreciate you viewing, and always look at those overseas assignments.